Hey guys, my tutorial is finally ready to go. I would like to discuss essay number 2 with you guys. I just want to say I apologize for constantly coughing. I know it's probably going to be distractive throughout this video. Please bear with me. I'm still recovering. So, essay number 2 is going to be a literary criticism, and we are going to do a critical analysis of the novel. So what does that mean? I actually put a pretty extensive definition up here for you guys to look at, but in a nutshell, I wrote in the first sentence that literary criticism is part of interpretation. So it's kind of like part of the analytical process that hopefully, every single student goes through. So I tried to sum it up in a way that's understandable. I wrote, one reader writes down his or her views on what a particular work of literature means so that others can respond to that interpretation. So it kind of, ends up being this like back and forth debate. Just to give you guys an example, which will make it probably easier to understand. When I was writing my thesis, I was writing about the politics of Jane Austen. So I was saying that despite what many critics believe, Jane Austen was indeed a political author. Now, this is a very disputed claim because one of the biggest criticisms Jane Austen receives, from just critics in general and from scholars, is that she's not very political, especially during a time of French Revolution when she probably should have made a little bit more commentary on what's going on in society. She really wasn't. But in my thesis, I was arguing, yes, she was. You just had to know how to read it in her work because she's a subtle writer, because a lot of it is implied. It's not at face value. It's not literal. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So that was my argument. And of course, in trying to write that argument, I had to also incorporate other people's perspectives who didn't necessarily agree with me. That is the beauty of literary criticism, because so many different readers, so many different scholars have their own interpretations. And so I came up with 5 topics. It covers 5 important themes or motifs that exist in the novel. And I thought, you could write a literary criticism on one of these topics. So let's look at the topics, make sure we understand them. Topic number 1, is pride a virtue or a vice in the novel? So if you guys please make sure that before you do anything else, you actually read the little paragraph that I wrote. I tried to give an example of, what maybe some of the characters' perspectives of pride are in the novel, or how pride might be represented in the novel. Of course, some people think pride is a good thing. Some people think it's a bad thing. I've always grown up being told by my friends that I'm too proud, and I always thought that's a bad quality that I have. It's a flaw. It's a failing in me. I think as I grew up, I learned to appreciate my pride a little bit more. And of course, how do you interpret pride? Is it, pride in where you came from? Is it pride like snobbiness? You just don't want to interact with people. That's all going to be part of your essay if you choose this topic. You will have to define based on your perspective, what pride is and whether you think it's a good or a bad thing. So when I write these paragraphs, I try to contextualize the question by having the novel in mind, and then I try to ask some follow-up questions that will help you produce some ideas. So here are some follow-up questions. Mr. Darcy defends his pride and says, if it's a real superiority of mind, then it's okay. It's under good regulation. And my question is, well, do you agree with that? Or do you agree with other people's perspectives, such as Mary Bennett's, or even Charlotte Lucas, who says that Mr. Darcy has a right to be proud. And then I wrote the last sentence, is pride an inexcusable failing, or can it be acceptable and even necessary at times? And answering that question will basically produce a thesis for your essay. If you're not interested in that, you can always look at topic number 2. Why are manners so important in the novel? So we get a different perspective on manners. There's a lot of times when Elizabeth bases her opinion on someone just on kind of like, their politeness. And it kind of raises the question of like, how deep do manners have to be? How important are they in that social process of getting to know someone? Like, for example, if you guys were to go on a blind date, how important would manners be on that date? Girls, is it important for the guy to open the door for you? Is it important for him to pay the bill on your first date? Those are all supposed to be little examples, right, of gentlemanly manners. Or would you say manners would be more in the lines of being respectful, talking with courtesy, being considerate, maybe empathetic? I'm not sure. So I wrote over here, can manners be deceiving? Are they an important part of social interaction? So, the question is, why are they so important? And that also leads to the question of, do you think they should be so important? That's ultimately the position that you're taking. Like, how much can we trust manners in the context of the novel? And of course, feel free to explore your opinion for that question. The third question, if you are interested in this one. Now, Jane Austen, despite the fact that she does have a hero and a heroine, she has a large array of ridiculous characters. So let me just explain what ridiculous characters are. They are the characters who are deeply flawed. I don't know if you guys remember, but when I was introducing the author and the novel, I actually created a spectrum of personality types that are represented in the novel. And on the far left and on the far right, you'll find all of the ridiculous characters in the novel. So you might want to take a look at that slide one more time. And basically my question is, what's the reason she includes such a large number of ridiculous characters in her novel? And these are characters that have very obvious flaws. They have very distinct imperfections. What is Austen trying to teach or convey through the use of so many flawed characters? And that's ultimately, answering that question can give you a pretty good thesis. Now, topic number 4. I know there's a lot, so bear with me. Who is the moral authority of this novel? So I think before anything else, sorry guys. Before anything else, you try to answer the question of, what do you consider a moral authority to be? And let me just kind of relate to you guys how I thought of it. Somebody who has the authority, they have enough place in society or enough respect from others to really be a judge of what is right or wrong, of what is good or bad. Like, they've earned that right to take that leadership role when it comes to their morality. So, we are told by Jane Austen, when she introduces Lady Catherine, that Lady Catherine assumes the role of a moral authoritarian, but at the same time, is she really? Can her judgment be relied upon? And a person who is a moral authority, it's not someone who's perfect, so please don't get me wrong. It's more about a person who recognizes the right and wrong in a situation, probably the best. And that's someone that's going to have that very strong moral center. So my question is, who do you choose as the moral authority of this novel, and why? Do you think it's Elizabeth? Do you think it's Darcy? Do you think it's the Gardners? Do you think it's, I don't know, Jane or Bingley? Whoever it is you think is the moral authority, that would be the center of your argument. By the way, for question 4, a really good approach that I've seen some students take, I just wanted to give you guys like a little hint, is a lot of students, they choose a moral authority and then they contrast that person with the ones who fail. So by showing us what a good moral authority looks like, for example, one argument was saying that Mr. Gardner is like the ideal moral authority because he takes on the role of father in Elizabeth's life. And then the student that was writing that essay contrasted Mr. Gardner with Mr. Bennet, Elizabeth's actual dad. And in the contrast, she basically was pinpointing how Mr. Bennet just fails constantly, you know, as a moral authority. Even though we like him, even though he's a funny character, even though he has a great relationship with his daughter, as a moral authority, he fails. And I thought that was a really clever approach. So I just wanted to give you guys an example that in defending your thesis, you can always choose characters. Sorry. You can always choose characters to discuss who you think fail, and by showing their failure, you're able to emphasize the stronger characters. And finally, you guys, question number 5, I would like you guys to look at the symbolism behind estates. How do estates symbolize their owner? So we do have quite a few estates in the novel. We have Longbourn, which belongs to Mr. Bennet. We have Rosings Park, which belongs to Lady Catherine. We have Netherfield. We have Netherfield Hall, which we know is purchased by Mr. Bingley. We have Pemberley, and we know that that belongs to Mr. Darcy. So you can choose any one of these estates and discuss it, and basically analyze how the estate itself symbolizes its owner. And it goes without saying, you know, these great houses that are mentioned in the novel, they even are named. The fact that they have names says a lot, because it just shows that these are great houses that are supposed to be a reflection of the owner's status, of the owner's history, of their place in life. So the house represents the owner in a lot of ways. So the symbolism might be interesting to really analyze if you guys are into this topic. So I wrote over here, be sure to use specific examples from the novel to support your answer. And then, of course, this essay allows you to merge symbolism with a character analysis, because not only are you looking at the estate as that symbolic, you know, piece of property, but you're kind of analyzing how it's a reflection of the owner. All right, 5 topics, pretty straightforward questions, right? Nothing that is very confusing. If it is confusing, you guys should surely ask me, please do. And then here are some guidelines. So this part is very important. Please follow along carefully. You are required to write 4 to 6 pages in MLA format. You should look at this website. If you don't know the MLA format, even roughly by the second essay, you know, that's already kind of a problem, because you've done an essay before. So I really want to see that you have a works cited page. I really want to see that your essay is structured in a certain way. So This also includes works cited page, in-text citations, and of course, formatting your visuals correctly, which is part of the visual rhetoric slideshow that I provided, so it shouldn't be difficult. This essay asks you to use 5 sources. So let's break this down and make it easy to manage. Source number 1 is going to be the novel. Okay, so Pride and Prejudice. I have the ebook link available for you guys. You are going to have to use at least 3 to 4 quotations from the novel. I hate to put a number, but I've seen in the past that when I don't put a number, students simply do not quote from the novel. And quotations are a necessary part of writing. You know, it just shows that you're able to use evidence, and it also brings more detail to your writing. Source number 2, I would like you guys to use a scholarly article from a website. This is a website that I absolutely love, and I think it's a terrific website for you guys to consult, so I'm requiring it. It's from jasna.org. So let me just show you guys what this website looks like. Here's the home page. This is a home page dedicated to the Jane Austen Society. So this page is a page that's about Jane Austen, and also it gives you access to a lot of articles that are published in this, I think it's a monthly magazine, and it's pretty much like scholars all over, they submit their essays, and then it gets published on this website. So check it out. You can do a search, and then depending on which topic you choose, like, see, I had searched this very topic. I wrote Pride and Prejudice and estates. Let's say I wanted to write about that 5th topic. I do a search, and any one of these titles can be used in my essay. So if you don't like your search, you can always go and you can modify your search, search differently. So, so when I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, okay, like let's say I would like to write about Pemberley. I click on the title, and then here we go, the essay opens up. So notice how there's even like a little bit about the author that's at the top. And this article is allowing me to download it in PDF, which is really cool because in PDF version, this is PDF, I'm sorry. It allows you to download it in Word, like just in case you would like to print it out. You can print it out if you want. Now, the PDF is recommended because the page numbers are at the bottom. So if I decided that I would like to use this article, like a certain page, okay, let's say I quoted up from this page, I would have to know the page number. So page 114, and then the author's name is Perry. So my in-text citation would say Perry 114. So that's pretty cool, right? This website gives you access to free scholarly sources all about Jane Austen, which is pretty awesome. So look, this one is about Longbourn, which is pretty cool. I mean, if you guys know which estate you would like to write about, you could always type in the name in your search. So going back to the instructions, the second source that you find must be a scholarly article from this website, and I would like you to quote from that article at least twice. That way I'm seeing that you've actually read the article, and also I'm able to see that you're pulling out relevant information from the article that's going to help your thesis. The third source, it says, should be a current newspaper or magazine article. I also put blog. Now, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of freedom because maybe you might want to use our school databases. So over here, let me show you guys. our GCC databases, if you go to, so this is the library homepage, if you go to databases A through Z, GCC does this really cool recommended box. And then if you scroll down, it actually has Gale literature. And this database has a bunch of articles that's on, literary works such as Pride and Prejudice. So let's say I would like to do Pride and Prejudice. Let me just do a general search and estates just to see what comes up. Now, 2,481 results. That's quite a lot. So that's a lot of titles to look through. So that means that I might have to refine my search. I might have to, filter the results right here. I could always, do another search, be more specific in my language. But one thing I did want to show you guys, it gives you a breakdown of all the different kinds of mediums. So for example, this is a multimedia option, so there's 21 of them. Primary sources and literary works. I'm interested in that because I want to know the stuff that is written specifically about the novel, like it's going to be maybe from credible people, like I don't know, like scholars in the field. So look, the historical context of Pride and Prejudice. Look, the same article just came up. The Pemberley effect. We saw this article in Jasna, remember? And then I scroll down. I just look at the titles, Derbyshire's corresponding, and so many titles that might be interesting to me. Ooh, Austen's Legacy in Downton Abbey. That's cool. I just got interested. Sorry. So let's say I click on a title. Let's say this is really interesting to me. I decide to read this article. I'm like, oh yeah, I like this a lot. I want to use it. Okay, bam, I'm going to cite it. The website is already citing it for me. MLA 9th edition, copy paste into my works cited. I am ready to go. This is a piece of cake. So it's not that difficult to do research if you kind of know what your general search is going to be on. So as soon as you select a topic, the search should be pretty easy. Now, your fourth source is going to be something that you choose, that you have freedom to choose yourself. What would you like? Would you like a scholarly article? Would you like another magazine article, a newspaper, a website, a blog, a nonfiction book? I tried to give you as many options as possible. So for the third and the fourth source, you do have to quote it at least once. And then finally, the fifth source must be a visual. I would like to see a visual embedded in your essay. So if you have forgotten how that looks, you should look at the visual rhetoric slideshow that I created. Now, I think, let me just show you guys over here. Sorry. The visual rhetoric slideshow was, I'm trying to find it just to make it easier for you guys. Week 7's module. So you go to week 7, scroll down to files and slideshows, and over here the second file is the visual rhetoric slideshow that I created, the PowerPoint. If you guys would like my tutorial that goes with it, it's under the tutorials category, and it's that second one, tutorial on visual rhetoric. That will remind you of how you are supposed to use visuals when you write. And those are the guidelines. So if you guys notice, I spent a lot of time on sources because that is, it's one of the most important requirements for this assignment. And mostly, you are going to be graded on a variety of things and not just on your sources. So I would like to show you guys also, before saying, goodbye, I would like to show you guys what the submission page looks like. So right now, the submission page, sorry, let me just get back in here. Okay, so right now the submission page has the instructions copied and pasted, and then it has the deadlines, okay? So check it out. The due dates are important. The due date is going to be this upcoming week, Thursday, May 26th. That's when your rough draft is due. So you're going to have the entire week, weekdays, okay? So Monday through Thursday to write your rough draft. When I say your rough draft, I mean your rough draft. It can be, not your best work. It doesn't have to be grammatically perfect, but it does have to be complete. And when I say complete, I mean that your argument is done, like your body paragraphs, your introduction, your conclusion. It's okay if you didn't get a chance to do your works cited page, though. That part's okay. Now, the next day is going to be our peer review day. I'm making Friday the peer review day because it's the last day before our long weekend. And I want to make sure that I give you that weekend time to relax. I don't want to like give you work to do over the weekend. So the peer review day has to be Friday. Everyone has to be able to finish the 2 peer reviews assigned to them by midnight of that day. And then you will have until Tuesday to do your final draft, to revise the essay, to revise that rough draft that you submitted, and to resubmit it in the same assignment portal, in this one right here, by Tuesday night. And I will start grading them Wednesday morning. I did add a note. This is because last time there were so many people who did not do peer review or who ignored their peer reviewers' comments. So I wrote, if your essay does not undergo peer review or have a revision, it will receive a 5% grade penalty. So 5% would be like if you were going to get a 95% and a solid A, it would then become an A minus. So I do want to stress that, because I do think the peer review process is so important when it comes to writing. So I don't want you guys to skip it. Now, this is also the rubric that is going to be used. I use this rubric when I'm scoring you guys, and your peer reviewers are also going to be using this rubric. So notice how the point breakdown that equals 100 is not all equal. So there are some things that I think are more important. For example, your critical analysis is pretty much 25 out of the 100 points. That's a big chunk of your argument. It's on the quality of your analysis. Another big chunk is your source requirements. Did you meet the 5 source requirements that I set? Another big chunk is your use of support. So do you guys notice it's not just using the sources, but it's also the way that you are using the information. It ends up being 40% of your paper is on the quality of information that you have in your essay. Your ethos is another 10 points. Your thesis is another 15. And then there's some that, it's not as major, but it's still significant, like the basic requirements, MLA format and stuff, and then the grammar and style of your work. So I do think it's important to review the rubric just so you can see how you are going to be graded on this essay. And then, for the rest of the week, we're just going to be working on our rough drafts. And, I'll be here to help you guys if you have any questions at all. So I definitely apologize for the constant coughing. But please feel free to reach out if you guys have any questions, and good luck on this essay.